Let's move on to one of the big stories over the last few days or so. The amazing scenes in Wicklow when St Patrick's won the county championship, a massive achievement for the club, and then immediately had to turn around and 24 hours later go and play in the Leinster Club Championship. Their manager, Casey O'Brien, joins us on the line now. Casey, first off, I guess I should start by saying congratulations, because, you know, a lot of people probably don't know that much about Wicklow County football or club football, but it was an amazing achievement for you guys to beat Rathnew.
Yeah, how's it going, lads? Yeah, look, it was Pats and Rathnew we're all in the one parish down here, you know, and they've been great champions over the years, and you know, we hadn't won it in 6 years, and it was just great to get, you know, to beat them in the final. You know, it meant a lot to the people in the town. You know,
was it a close game?
Yeah, well, we drew the first day. We got a point in injury time to our full back went up the field and got a point in injury time to force a replay, and then yeah, we were 7-3 down with 14 minutes to go, and we won 10-8. We finished very, very strong. Yeah, so very, very tight game. Yeah.
Okay, so like undoubtedly one of the crowning achievements for the club, and a great opportunity for that club within the town to, you know, have one over on your nearest local rivals. An amazing achievement that you would, I guess, have liked to have been able to celebrate properly.
Yeah, well, you know, as I say, we weren't going to stop the guys having a drink that night. You know, some of them drank a lot, some of them drank a few, you know, but overall we still knew that we'd the Leinster Championship game the next day, and we all met for breakfast at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then we had to go up and get 3 masseuses in to give them rubs, and then we went on to play the match in Aughrim, which was a half on as well, so it was even 21 hours. We had 2 matches to play, you know, and no, it was probably took a little bit off the icing on Saturday night, you know, knowing that we had a match the next day.
And like, I don't know, at some point, at any point, did you guys and Rathnew think about coming together in advance of it to try collectively to get the game changed? Yeah,
you know, to be fair, the county board sent in emails to try and get it changed, you know, but it was never, for whatever reason, it wasn't changed, you know. But the thing about going into it was we couldn't look any further than Rathnew, and Rathnew could probably look no further than us. Like, so, you know, to be fair, the players whoever won it were kind of underdone, because we had done no homework on Rhode. Like, for the whole championship, we done our homework on all the teams and Wicklow that we were playing against, and we absolutely knew nothing about Rhode because we just couldn't look any further than Rathnew. So the players were kind of, you know, a little bit robbed as well because we couldn't do our job.
Yeah,
you know, to tell them about Rhode, you know what I mean, and the freshness and everything had gone. We weren't a fresh team on Saturday. I think if the Rhodes, I'm not saying we beat Rhode, you know, they beat us by 10 points, but I feel if Rhode had to play Rathnew on Saturday, we'd have probably beaten Rhode on Sunday. You can't, you don't play a team like Rathnew and refresh the next day. I mean, it was only 10 months ago that they beat St Vincent's down in Aughrim in the Leinster Championship. You know?
Yeah,
so
they're a really good side.
Yeah, really good side. It's just impossible. It's impossible. And the way teams are fit this year, or the way even club teams are so fit and strong, you know, you need to be fresh when you're playing a team like Rhode.
Casey, there was a suggestion yesterday that the Leinster Council were punishing the Wicklow County Board for not getting their fixtures cycled through in time, and that ultimately it was the Wicklow County Board's responsibility. They fought back yesterday with a statement saying Wicklow's a dual county, hurling and football has to be played week on, week off. We had our championship planned. We got our league completed early at the behest of the clubs. We had our county players available for all the league matches. That this was actually a pretty good year from a Wicklow fixtures perspective, but that there was no flexibility from the Leinster fixtures fixing. What's your take on that whole matter? Does the county board bear some of the responsibility? Did the Leinster Council bear some of the responsibility? How did this happen?
Well, to be honest, like Mick Hagan and Tom Bourne have been doing the fixtures in the county for a long number of years, and for whatever reason this year two Leinster representatives came in, stepped in and decided to take over fixtures in Wicklow. And they've done some good things. As I say, we're not travelling over to West Wicklow now in November, December, and a Sunday morning finishing off leagues or what have you. But they were set in stone, and there was nothing. They obviously didn't look at when the Leinster dates were going to be on in both football and hurling. Like, I mean, if Carnew and Glenealy had it drawn last week into hurling, they were in the same boat next week. You know what I mean? There was no leeway given for replays or anything like that. And there wasn't a championship hurling ball or football struck for the whole year until the 14th of July. From junior B level to senior level in both codes. Now, how can you cram in from junior B level to senior level in both codes from the 14th of July, you know, to October? You're going to run into trouble, and that's exactly what happened. Like, but as I can't put the whole blame on Wicklow County Board, because they got these two guys in to oversee the fixtures, and that's what happened.
Would you recommend next year, if you were going back, kind of taking the lessons from this year, that some championship matches get played in April? Like, is a split championship season something that you as a manager would complain about, or actually think, okay, well, if it means that we have 2 weeks to prepare for the county champions, to prepare for the Leinster Championship, then fair enough, we all have to do what's best for Wicklow football?
Yes, and there is a lot of dual players in Wicklow. You know, there definitely is. But we've seen a hurling championship there with 6 teams in it this year, and it was a round robin, and they all played each other, but nobody went out of it. No, you know, nobody actually went out of it. After the round robin, the six teams were still intact, and they had the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and final. Now, I mean, if surely to God they could have played probably 2 rounds of that in April, which would help later on, if you understand me. Yeah. Intermediate hurling was the same. It was a round robin, but nobody went out of it. And I mean, the football championship then was a round robin, but there were 6 teams in each group. But only the top 3 got out. The bottom 3 were gone. You know, so they're meaningful games. I'm not dismissing the hurling championship under no circumstances, but you know, it would have helped to play a couple of those games in April. You know, which everybody knows at the end of the season, both Glenealy and Rathnure are going to be into business end of it, and they have been for the last 30 years. You know, and they've a lot of players playing for both clubs. You know, so everybody knows what's coming down the line. Rathnure and Glenealy will be in a semi-final or final at the end of the year. You know, and there was no allowances made for that.
Casey, Wicklow were knocked out of the football championship on the 9th of June.
Yeah.
Dublin were knocked out, well, they were knocked out, but they completed their football championship on the 2nd of September, and yet, despite, for all intents and purposes, both counties, when it comes to the club game, being dual counties, and they have a similar number of matches to run off, Dublin more so because they have more clubs, the county championship in hurling in Wicklow and football in Dublin finished on the same weekend. I don't understand that. And you mentioned 14th of July as being the date that the hurling championship at senior level in Wicklow started. Why was there a gap of almost 5 weeks between Wicklow's exit in the football championship to the opening round of the hurling championship at club level in Wicklow? Can you explain why there was such a gap?
Oh, I can't really.
What was happening on the club scene in that 5-week period?
They finished a couple of league games in the football. You know, the Dun Cup and things like that. But I have no answer. I don't understand why you were waiting another 5-6 weeks for the championship to kick off. That were the dates that they put out at the start of the year, and these Leinster people came down and put them out and stuck to it. We started training on the 6th of February. Our team, you know, 6th of February to the end of October, like, you know, it's crazy.
Were there no questions, Casey, raised within the county when the full-time whistle is gone in that game against Clare and Aughrim? Are there no questions being raised the following Monday morning as to why we now have a 6-week wait for the championship to begin? Because this was entirely avoidable. Whether the blame is with the county board or the blame is or some of the blame on the shoulders of these 2 Leinster representatives, this is a farcical situation that you have an already creaking club championship system in a county that is, as I've said, a dual county when it comes to the club scene, and yet there is nothing happening at the height of the summer in brilliant weather when all anybody wants to do is get out and play championship hurling, and there isn't a single game being played, and at the end of it you are being asked to play twice in 21 hours. Like, if it wasn't so demeaning to the players and coaches involved, it would be laughable.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Like, you know, whatever they're talking about league, right, getting the league out of the way and all, but at the end of the day, you know, the pinnacle of all players that play Gaelic football are hurling this championship. You know what I mean? And I could see it coming. You know, everyone could see it coming, but it was set in stone, and there was nothing changed, nothing started earlier, and it was set in stone, and we knew that all it took was one draw to put the whole lot.
Were you playing challenge matches during that 6 weeks, Casey?
Yeah, we played a couple of challenges. We'd a Dun Cup for the top four in the league played off. So we 3 Dun Cup matches, but we also went and we played a couple of challenge matches. We played a tie. We played a couple of teams in Dublin in the build up to the championship. On
weeks when the club championship should have been played.
Yes.
I mean, what else can you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
And would you agree, Casey, that we can get all the stakeholders in the same room, the CPA, the GPA, the GAA, get everybody talking about putting this master fixture list in place, which is something the CPA have been talking about for a year. The GPA had it in their statement that they released last week. But no matter how much time these people spend in the same room, if a county that's knocked out of the championship on the 9th of June can't get their championship run off by the end of October, there is no structural change that anybody, the brightest minds in the country, can put in place that will stop this happening. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree. But you know that, you know, at the end of the day, you know, we like when would our championships being played if our hurling and football teams went on for another month, you know, or 2 months, so we wouldn't get it finished till bloody St. Stephen's Day, you know. Absolutely, I just think it's crazy. It shouldn't happen, and it boils down to, you can put people into a room and you can just put it. At the end of the day, it boils down to common sense.
Casey, we'll leave it there. Good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us.
Okay, thank you, lads.
Congratulations on the championship win. Thanks a million.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Casey O'Brien, they're the manager of St Patrick's, the Wicklow County champions. Obviously, he went straight out of the Leinster championship. It's a bit mad that they can't fix this stuff.
But it's. I was unaware of the specifics to the dates until Casey came on with us there.
One last thing, the notion that Wicklow are being punished for being slow and getting their stuff done. Who's actually being punished? The players from the county champions.
Yeah.
Not the Wicklow County Board. Because they're not getting fined, there's no like reprimand for them, really. It's like the public shame, which Irish people don't feel. It's like, it's that club who are the county champions, the players, the administrators, the coaches, the volunteers of that club are the ones getting punished. If that was the motivation behind it, which was being suggested in some quarters yesterday.
Well, if you're not being punished, if you know weeks, if not months in advance, when that fixture is going to take place. That's not, you haven't been punished. The insinuation is that they've been punished after the fact. But that game against Rhode was in the fixture list.
By not moving it back a week.
Well, it's not, I don't think it's down to the Leinster Council, unless there's a huge number of unforeseen events or set of circumstances there was one draw.
Like Leinster
there's one draw, or like maybe we get, you know, weather that we've never seen during the summer and a deluge of rain that may renders pitches across up and down Wicklow unplayable, and there are 3 or 4 consecutive weeks lost. Like the GAA did lose earlier this year with the snow and the storms, and it meant the O'Byrne Cup final was played in April, for example. It wasn't even May, but the one that Meath was involved in. Then maybe a little bit of leeway. But that game, that opening round of the Leinster Football Championship was set in stone since June. The Wicklow County Board and/or these 2 Leinster representatives that Casey has talked about, they knew exactly what was coming down the track. There was a 6-week window in which to at least begin the championship. That was just thrown into the bin. And I cannot, for the like of me, understand how a county like Wicklow finished their hurling championship a week after the Dublin Senior Hurling Championship is completed.